Hello and welcome to Out in the Wash, the podcast where we talk about the soaps that you love, the storylines you're shouting at the telly about, and everything that probably will come out in the wash. I'd like to start today's episode by paying tribute to Derek Martin, who died earlier this week at the age of 92. He started on Eastenders in the year 2000, and he was cut from the show in 2016. He had a varied career in theatre, television, and film. I'd like to send love to his friends, family, and work colleagues. As you remember him for Charlie Slater, father to Kathleen, Lynn, Mo, Belinda, father at the beginning to Zoe, but later found to be grandfather. Which maybe later we just like to send some love. So we remember him this week. And the way that it read, that we're recording for is to Abby, from the 12th of January to the 16th of January 2026. We'll be covering, as usual, Eastenders, Emmerdale, and Coronation Street. Okay, let's start with Eastenders then. So great at that. We'll begin with Max. Ben's there like, oh, you're going to get hurt, you're going to die, and he's like, no, you're not. Fine. And I'll grab this thing for the garage. How they've managed to plan out. No, you're absolutely fine. So Max is introduced to B, who's staying at the B&B. Yeah, so Jack had a tease and he gets it out of Linda. What do you think? Was it AI? These things are actually collected from her previous flat by Linda and Honey. And while they're there, they bump into her ex. He throws all her things outside, Nugget and Ravi, mainly Ravi. But the week opens with, does love those birds. We find out that Nugget is kind of nice. She's set up at Peacock Palace, attack. Ravi finally comes Max to, switches his phone when she tells him that Ollie is being bullied. And when Priya mentions where the attack was from, we see a tiny flashback. Suddenly having this brand new dad. He then reveals to Priya that he thinks it was him who attacked Nugget. He's still not fully showing himself. He's sort of seen it in his head, but he's not sure. And we've all lost our dad. She reacts quite typically at first and stops referring to Nugget as our son. And then it's like, my son, get out, my son. Okay, I mean, but she later kind of forgives Ravi when the full sort of story comes to light of he didn't know and he thought it was Nish. I'm missing Daddy. And he was kind of reacting to that, and he had no idea it was Nugget, and he never would have done it had he not been drugged. I think she kind of forgives him and says, you can still sort this. On that day because meanwhile, when Nugget comes around and Ravi's not there, he blames himself. He feels like he's a disappointment to Ravi because he didn't stand up to the attack, but he has no idea that it was his own father that did it. And I don't know, was there a Ravi then starts to click on to what's going on and who did this to them when he overhears Barney say that he, Nico and Harry are apparently going away. Like, I don't even get why. And he starts to put two and two together. He crashes through the front door of number one, armed with a baseball bat, after locking Priya in the flat to stop her running after him. She uses a landline as well. She uses a landline phone. Do I need to explain what a landline phone is? It's a phone that's plugged in the wall, guys. She uses a landline phone to contact Avani and get her to come let her out. And she still lies to Avani about what happened. So she gets out, she goes trotting after Ravi. By this time, he's smashed the door through of number one, started bashing up some pictures and paintings, and is face to face with Nicola and Harry. They're in the hallway. Nicola manages to make a secret call to George, who through the call hears what's going on. Gina's kind of said, give us some space, give Nicola some space, but he rushes over to act, the George Knight of it all. And as he gets there, Harry kind of lunges at Ravi, and the living room table comes off worse.
Oh no! Our table! It's broken! Well, the table broke.
Yeah, I thought I'd put that sound in there. That's what I thought of. When Priya's let out, she kind of comes to collect him from number one. They leave, but he's still covered in all these bruises. He's had, again, another good interaction with Patrick while he's in the pub. And Patrick kind of says to him, your son's still alive. Mine is let out over there, and I'll never get to speak to him again. Go sort it out, Ravi. So yeah, some nice sort of, not light and shade, but some, it gives Ravi food for thought that maybe he can make this up. But at this point, both Priya and Ravi are lying to Nugget, Avani, they're lying to Suki, they're lying to the police, they're lying to Eve, and I feel like we had a nice little scene with Suki and Eve sat with Nugget, and how, they listen to him and reassure him. And I think when he finds out that he's been lied to and what happened, he will probably sway towards them. Maybe Avani will too, but I think, Nugget will definitely, they've always forgiven, but whether they can this time. I think it's also occurred to Nicola and Harry that Ravi was the one who hurt Nugget. We saw in the beginning of the week that Harry was starting to have regrets about the whole thing, but Nicola was trying to reassure him, but even she was like, oh, maybe we went too far this time. Like, this is going to come back. And like George says, when you enact revenge, you dig two graves, one for you and one for your victim. You're just making it worse. He tries to kind of say to her, look, I know you're this independent woman, but you need to stop building up these barriers. I want to be here. And it's something, and George has aspirations to buy Walford East as well. He wants to open up that. Nicola's like, yeah, great, go for it. Because I don't really think she's thought that through. But then it's a good move for George. It keeps him Walford centric. And I think we need that. And yeah, it gives him something to do. Brings Walford East back in as a set, which is great. We later see Ravi bring some pizza to the hospital, but then he just disappeared. For the life of me, I can't remember why he disappeared. Did he get a phone call? But yeah, off he goes, running away. Okay? So we're going to move on to the week's big reveal, the week's big story in Jasmine. I'd like to open this piece first by apologising to Jean. I think we all owe Jean a massive apology. We're going to come back to this later. So Jasmine's crashing out all over the place. She's invited. She gains an apology from Patrick that they didn't get off on the best foot. It's a week of apologies in the Vic and Jasmine crashing out and drinking in the calf, which, yeah, a lot of repeated scenes. I don't like it. It gets confusing. One minute she's there, one minute she's here, and we see a lot of the same places, and I can't imagine that's easy as an actor either. But yeah, a lot of repeats. So Jasmine goes across to Patrick and Yolanda's, and she's invited to go see Anthony's body, which even I think's a bit too much too soon. I get that it's a respect thing, yep, but she barely knows these people. She barely knows the people she's living with. That, yeah, I think I would have crashed out a bit of that. She later offers to babysit Charlie, Lily's baby, but when she places the baby monitor with Charlie, she puts it in the cot with her. This is later knocked out, and the batteries all fall on the floor, and it's not working. She's down, and Jasmine herself is downstairs having a run masterclass with Patrick. Now, to me, I probably would have sat next door. I would have been in the next room. I don't really like baby monitors, I never have done. and she would have heard. So, so plot point in this, that she's downstairs with this side of the family when she should be looking after other side of the family. And she's having a masterclass because she took white rum to Patrick's when really he likes dark rum. So he's like, we need to teach you the ways. I feel this could have been avoided if Alfie had stepped in and said, I've been serving this man for nearly 20 to 30 years now. I know what he likes, take this, it'll be fine. An oversight there. When Lily goes hell-bent on her, she goes full Stacey mode. Jasmine kind of goes to swing for Lily across the bar, and everyone's like, oh, did you see that evil streak in Jasmine? We have seen worse in that pub. Far, far worse. So I don't know what they're talking about, but we have seen a lot worse. So I'm scared about the evil streak, and this is kind of what Jean's been saying, but no one took her seriously. Jasmine again, she's crashing out, off she goes, she's down in shot, she's pouring drinks over Oscar, and off she goes into the night. When she comes back in the morning, guess what, guys? It's a Slater on a milk float. Who saw that coming? Eastenders, this is the 4th time. We get it, but we don't like it. Who is this milkman? Is he like an ex-friend of Charlie's or something? Does he just know a Slater on site, even though he's never met this one and she looks nothing like the rest of them? But yeah, 4 times. We've seen Kat do it. We've seen Stacey do it. We've seen Freddie do it. Now Jasmine. So I get that it's a rite of passage. We get it. Get it. But I don't like it. So she's back round. She's crashing out here, there and everywhere. She's drinking in the caf. She's on the swings. She's trying to flirt with Zach. Chelsea finds her and lets it kind of slip that Anthony wasn't nice. And I really thought Jasmine knew this already. But maybe deep down, it was just subconsciously that I thought Jasmine knew this, and I believed all the time that what we're about to find out, we were going to find out. So Jasmine then goes off. She's raging at Patrick, saying, you knew it was bad, and blah, 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 and you want me to come see him. And he kind of talks around, and she agrees to it. There's a nice interaction earlier with her and Alfie, and he talks about how Nana Moon died. And if you think about it, it's very, very much a mirrored reflection of how Anthony died, as we see, because everyone goes to the Chapel of Rest. Denise, Kim, Patrick, Yolandi, Chelsea, and Jasmine. She doesn't really know these people, and she's there, and it's a lot. And she's left on her own. She says, can I have a couple of minutes? And she's left with Anthony alone. And it's here that she reveals, through the power of her phone and a video that she just happened to record, and it's fallen at just the right angles, that it was Jasmine that killed Anthony. That she saw him and how he was speaking to Zoe as she just went for him, and she seems to knock him on the head with something, and he falls to the floor. So does the phone. He has lunged for Jasmine as well, so he could quantify that it's self-defense. And I've seen that that's what Zoe is maybe pleading and going with. She believes that she did it and she wants to protect Jasmine. So maybe, does she know? Does she come round and see it? Does she know that it's Jasmine? And I'm kind of mad that Jasmine has sent Kat out on this wild goose chase, because there was no way that it could be Chrissy. It was so neatly wrapped up in a little parcel, and really it just answered, why was Chrissy there? It was just for a thing. Nah, there's more. There's something more. There has to be, otherwise it's just pointless. You could have just had Jasmine doing this all by herself. Like, nah. And there was a point where in the Chapel of Rest, Jasmine was dangling. It's not funny. She was dangling the phone in front of Anthony, and sort of like, oh, no, this is it. And I really thought Anthony was going to wake up. And I could not have been Nicholas Bailey in that coffin, because I would have been giggling. It was just having your eyes closed. No. I mean, if you had to do it, you'd probably do it, but I would, it's a struggle in it. And apparently there was Nicholas Bailey's last scene, but it was the last one that he filmed, and because there's a behind-the-scenes video of Ben Wadey bringing in flowers and, saying thank you. So, nice that, we saw the body this time, and I suppose it added to the story. So, again, I'll caveat this with, Jean Slater, we're really sorry. Can you come back soon? And we believe you. She got to all of us. She did it. but you were right. And Vera Stanhope will be in touch soon with your new job. Okay? Right, we'll move on to Emmerdale. The week begins with the police at Butler's farm asking Moira questions. So I'm going to kind of go through what happened during the week with Emmerdale. I don't know why my notes kind of happen like this. With EastEnders, I was able to break it down a bit more, but with this, everything kind of mixes up. Everyone's so connected now in Emmerdale, sorry. So the police are at Butler's asking Moira questions, and they're also at the depot where they find Ray's body in Jay's van. Jay seems to have some story that he needed a bite lock from Arthur for Archie, and this is why he's kind of been interacting with Laurel more over the course of this time. But yeah, Ray's body found in the van at the depot. I guess we will find out next week what happened in a flashback episode. But while the police are at Moira's, Robert heads up there, and no one seems to notice his guilty face. It's all very Stephen from the Traitors. Very guilty. Both Kane and Moira are interviewed by the police, and as are all the workers at the farm. And we've even got Lewis working there because he's come up to help his Auntie Moira. It's got me thinking this week, is Joe Tate more involved than we're being told? The depot belongs to his uncle, neither of whom are each other's biggest fan. You know, we've got questions about who's Rona trying to get in touch with, and they're not answering. Has Joe got a burner phone? Maybe she helped him out. We're being led down this path that it was Graham, but is that a red herring? So DS Walsh, she's super busy, and she's when she's done at Butler's, she's finding the time to head to home farm, and she does a bit of questioning there to Joe. And then while she's sat on the sofa there, she kind of starts speaking her thoughts out loud. It's not great, because she's decided to get a search warrant for Butler's, and while she's doing that, we see Laurel throwing some items away, namely a bag of stuff. So what's in the bag? Who does that belong to? She's chucking it in the hide bins. DS Walsh hasn't been up there yet, has she? Laurel seems to remember that she is the ex-wife of a vicar, and she's asking for some forgiveness in the church, and when she walks out, she blames Marlon for not telling her what Ray was up to. We've got a panicky Victoria, who is like a terrible traitor. Very bad traitor. She's just panicking. She's panicking. Her and Robert would be no use in the turret. They would be terrible traitors. Their faces just give it away. While the search warrant goes on, the jiffy bag of documents that Robert planted is found at Moira's, and she's holding under arrest. It does seem like a random move, because why would she be trafficking her wider family? I mean, Paddy's practically a dingle, 3 times over? Twice? She would not be letting Bear be trafficked. She just wouldn't be doing it. There's no way. Have you met Kane? Do you think he'd let her get away with it? No. Just seems silly. On a side note as well, if you're going to be a police officer, a detective in these shows, and you're wearing a police lanyard, don't wear a blue navy shirt. You look like a TARDIS. Really was. And also congratulations to DS Stewart, Neil Granger this week, who has completed soap. He's done it. He's done it, guys. He's done Eastenders. He's done Emmerdale. He's done Coronation Street. I think he's done Hollyoaks as well. So yeah, well done, Neil. And that's his own words as well. He put it on his Instagram. He's completed it, mate. Wow. Good job. And none of you could pick him out in a lineup, I bet. Yep. So we've got Charity and Mac. They're going for a paternity test, even though we know he's no chance of being the father, but I think he needs to believe that he could be. Kane, under Moira's arrest, has gone into feeling useless mode, but hey, don't worry. His best mate Liam's there, perfect support. At this point, I think Liam should be the vicar and Charles should be the doctor. Just saying. Laurel also gets visits from DS Walsh, who seems convinced that Laurel is the culprit for Ray's death, but us viewers, we can see that something's going on with Arthur, because once he's on screen. Where's he been? He's there. He's looking shifty. He's looking like Ned Flanders, if I'm honest. But then someone also points out that he also looks like Archie from back in the day, back in the plane crash days. R.I.P. Archie. So he looks like him. Thanks to Caleb's fancy lawyer that he's arranged for Moira, she's released. Caleb's quickly becoming the Phil Mitchell. I'll get my brief onto it of Emmerdale. And human side of Kim alert. I think we need a sound for this. Human side of Kim Tate. She's gracious and apologetic to Paddy. See, I told you it's there, and I'm here for it. She sees him in the cafe. She's like, I'm really sorry about your dad. If I had any idea, I would have stopped this. Like, she knows she needs those vets. She needs those people. And for once, again, Paddy's a dingle twice over. She's quite sort of warm to the Dingles over the years. So yeah, so human side of Kim alert. Just like to point that out. We do need a sound. If you see one again, let me know. We also see some red ribbon hanging from a tree at Butler's. Is this Anya's? I seem to remember something about a red ribbon. I'm sure more observant viewers, I don't remember things. I'm terrible. I don't know whose idea this was for me to have a podcast about remembering stuff, because I've had to write everything down. It seems to be above where she's buried, and if we remember, that's on Moira's land, wearing clothes that Moira was going to donate to charity, so there's lots of DNA going there. Moira is by no means out of the woods yet. Yeah, so Moira's going to donate those clothes to charity. No, not that one. She's got loads of money, to use a quote by Sam. See, I do remember certain things. Charity shop, not charity with a capital C. DS Walls also brings Jay in for questioning, although he's not under arrest, and as he gets into the car, we see some sort of look between him and Laurel. I don't know what's going on there. I thought he had a thing with Kerry. Also, it was brought up a couple of weeks ago that we need to be reminded that Jay's not innocent. Jay, you're an ex-drug addict, and you murdered your real father. Or he was your fake father. One of them, anyway. You're also a murderer, pushing people down the stairs, so you're not innocent in all of this. Charity finally grows a backbone and admits to Ross that the baby is his. So she finally told the truth, guys. Charity truth. Whoop, whoop. The results then come in, and Mac has to come to terms with the fact that he's not the father of the baby. At one point, I thought Ross had told him, and he was just lying. I still don't know whether Ross told him, and they're just playing with it. But yeah, we're led to believe that Ross has chickened out from telling Mac that he's the dad. Instead of... Right, someone help me out on here. So we have Ross and we have Mac. Is Mac Ross's uncle once or twice removed? Okay, so we'll go into this. Is Mac is the brother of Moira. Moira's husband, John. Yes, his brother was Ross's dad. Because it wasn't Ross that turned out to be John's, was it? Was that Adam? No, maybe it was. I can't remember. There is the internet, Jane. You could look this up. But I try and use the old grey matter myself. Yeah. So is he his uncle twice removed? They are kind of related by marriage. This is typical Emmerdale style. Yep. So yeah, Ross is the father. We knew that. Joe also finally speaks to Dawn about seeing Graham when he was in hospital. She dismisses it, quite rightly so, like, what? How? He's dead. He was cremated. We all saw it. She also brings up Billy and Priya found him. Like, yeah. But he admits that he's hired a private investigator. I was wondering this week if we'd ever see Dawn again, because she seems to have been gone for a bit, but nice to see them. And I'm glad he told her. Just some honesty is just nice once in a while. And again, it's that light and shade of Joe Tate that he's like, yeah, I'll tell you. It's fine. It's fine, I'll tell you, but I've got this private investigator. And I knew when that private investigator brought that copper to the hide that this was not the last we were seeing of this copper. It is the same one as when they found Graham, but I thought if we didn't need this copper to be here, you could have just done this off screen. It would have been no matter, and we'll just move on. But yeah, she's got some tattoo up her arm. Again, forgot what that says. And we then see her making a kind of secret phone call going, it's sorted, it's done. So yeah, so this is not the end. She knows something, she's up to something. I think it's going to be a kind of Becky Swain maybe thing in Emmerdale. Because why not copy a storyline sort of thing. Yep. So I will go back and check what that tattoo said. Right, finally for this week, I've really skipped through Emmerdale this week, but it's kind of been the same thing over and over, bash, bash, bash. Jay, and not to mention the traitors again, but he kind of gathers this outdoor round table of all the suspects in Ray's killing. So we've got Dylan, we've got Paddy, we've got Rhoda, Marlon, April, Laurel, Arthur and Ross. And he's kind of there and he's like, I didn't do this. But I know one of you's a traitor. Probably more than one of you's a traitor, but I will find. So let me know. Drop it on my Instagram, my TikTok, emailing outinthewash.pod@gmail.com. Who do you think did it? Who do you think the traitors are? Who do you think the faithfuls are in Emmerdale? And who do you think would make good traitors and good faithfuls in any soap? In any soap, character-wise. I'm not on about actor-wise, but character-wise. Who do you think would be good? That's a good point. I might do a post on that. And you can drop some comments. I'll do that later. We are set to get answers next week. So, where's the body of Celia gone? Is Bear still alive? I've read that he's dead, but I just don't think he is. Because otherwise he would have been found by now. Because he was upstairs. Where is he? Where are the others? Obviously it's going to come out, but yeah, I just wonder what your thoughts are on that. Okay. Right, we'll move on to Corrie. Last but not least. I struggled to know where to start with Corrie this week, so we begin with Lisa and Carla are discussing the fact that Becky has threatened to take Lisa down with her, and Betsy overhears them. She then decides to go visit Becky. She stands up to her, and I'll tell you what, it is wonderful, and I think Betsy very quickly got my character of the week. We didn't really see her again much this week, but yeah, standing up to Becky, it was like her prefrontal cortex matured. It matured right in front of us. I know she's still a bit young for that, but yeah, there was just something in her. It's like, yeah, go Betsy. She opens up to Lauren, and she feels like she's ruined everything. But we later find out through Lisa's boss that Becky gets 12 years. 12 years. And it ends, I think it was the ending of it. We see Becky in a cell with shouts and fellow prisoners who aren't happy that a bank copper is now one of them. Now, I've got thoughts on this later when I talk about another bit of this, but yeah, so that's kind of it for. I don't really remember seeing her again, but yeah, I really enjoy the friendship that she has with Lauren. I can see, the two actresses were put together in a dressing room behind. It's nice. It works. It's a nice chemistry. Yeah, really enjoy that. It feels very real. Hope that doesn't come to be spoiled. So yeah. Moving on, Jodie, Shona's sister, has moved into David and Shona's after David finds her having a panic attack and alludes to the fact that she has nowhere to go. Both Jodie and David actually mentioned separately about how the universe has brought her and Shona back together through the accident. There's no way she could have been listening, so yeah, so that does feel a bit true. But it's not really questioned as to why she was in the crash and where's her car. Like, that's not really brought up. While Jodie's left at David and Shona's, Nick knocks on the door. Is like, who are you? I really thought. I suppose David didn't want to tell Shona, but you could have dropped it in Plat Chat. Oh, by the way, there's not a stranger breaking into our house. It's Shona's sister. Just drop it in the Plat Chat. He doesn't know who she is. There's a nice line there about, what's your sister's name? Shona. Yeah, great question, Nick. Honestly, it's the level of your ability a lot of the time. Jodie also later on throws her SIM card away, but she never mentions that she'll now have a new number. Shona comes home, and she says Shona comes home and Jodie's in her dressing gown. She's like, yeah, I'm going to be needing that. And then later on, Shona comes out in a completely different dressing gown. So I guess it's in the wash, and yeah, maybe she owns more than one dressing gown, but yeah. And Shona's up and down them stairs changing sheets and sorting things out like no one else in that house could do that. She's just had a pregnancy, like it's not a massive operation. So yeah. And we also see that Nick brings around a veggie lasagna and Jodie passes it off as her own. Okay, in a kitchen where you have no idea what things are, like what are you doing for money, how are you shopping, and yeah, I just feel again Nick could have dropped it in Plat Chat, gone, I've took you a veggie lasagna round, and it would come to light that yeah, Jodie, you did make that. So that's the thing of things to come. There's definitely some friction between Nick and Jodie. So that'll be interesting because we all know that he thinks with a certain part of his anatomy, not his heart, a lot of the time. So yeah. And Jodie's also comforting David, but I don't think David's that stupid. He's just not. And things aren't great between Nick and Toya either, if I'm honest. So yeah. And poor Harper's going through it. She takes a turn for the worse, and that's why David's being comforted. And yeah, So we hope she gets through it. These things, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We're tiny, tiny sick babies, so hopefully Harper comes out of this okay. We'll move on to Debbie. Debbie has a hearing looming, and she definitely feels like she's been pulled in every direction as to what to play. Ryan finally gets to tell her that he suspects Carl is cooking the books. Kevin once again sticks his oar in, but she absolutely shouts him down in front of the hotel customers. At one point, I was convinced that Carl was not going to make it out of this place alive and that we'll be left with a whodunit. I'm still not entirely convinced it won't happen. I do feel it was like they were all in the pub, and it could have been anyone. You know, if he dies, you've got Tracy as a suspect for some random reason. Ryan, Abby, Kevin. We know at one point I thought Debbie, but I was like, no, not now because of what we found out later. Ronnie, when he finds out about him and James himself. So yeah, so if it does come up and Carl dies, I think this is very much heading towards a whodunit, but I could be wrong, and that's just the way I feel about soap. We do later, I keep saying later, I'm sorry. Debbie ends up pleading guilty, and Adam advises that the judge is looking to place the maximum sentence on her. Why did she plead guilty? Because she's protecting Carl. And in typical soap fashion, done and done again. And it was it was an open secret online. You guys really spoiled this. Yeah, do better. That Carl is in fact Debbie's son. And that she's protecting him. And I'm really done with this trope. Really done. Does this mean a resurgence for Terry Duckworth? Because of course it had to be Terry. If he's Terry's son, of course it had to be Carl that ran Tyrone over, because, you know, who else is going to do it? Ty was never a Duckworth by blood. He definitely hated Terry because he just could see what he did to Jack and Vera a lot of the time, letting them down. Terry is very much the Max Branning of Coronation Street. Yeah, we'll go with that. Very much Max. So, in that respect, it's a nice join between Tyrone and Terry again, but I'm done with this. I'm so done. Because Bill came back to Weatherfield later in life, and it was never mentioned. I mean, when he going to like marry Audrey or something, like it's happening in the afternoons, but because ITV3 have messed up the schedule and moved it, I'm not seeing those. I've stopped watching Classic Corrie because you moved the episodes ITV. I was going to talk about this last week and I forgot. So, yeah. It's been a struggle to get into the routine of watching EastEnders, Emmerdale and Corrie. And you could all say, oh, but you could watch them earlier. But I'd probably end up watching them twice. And I do, when the Traitors are on, I do end up watching them earlier. But yeah, but to say that you've moved your ITV3 classics to later on in the afternoon when The Chase and Deal or No Deal are on, it's not on. Who do you think are watching Classic Corrie? The same people. They're the same people. And you've put Foyle's War on instead, when they used to be the other way around. I'm not happy about that ITV3. I've just thought I'd put that in there. So anyway, yep. Go back to Debbie. Ronnie's struggling as well. And we see a nice little scene between him and Michael. God, I really have to think whether it's James or Michael. Michael saying, yeah, we're here to support you. So that's nice. Yeah. So it's that wider thing. Bernie turns up as support when Debbie's going to plea. I really think that Bernie might be the one to find this out, because we've just been through it with her and Kit, really. Secret kids. So yeah, it's not quite the same, but it is very similar. So I think Bernie will be the one to get that out. Moving on to Megan and Will and Daniel. Megan's been playing hot and cold with Will. She's giving him the brush off, then telling him she loves him. Will ends up spraying Ken's car, believing it to be Daniel's, after a pregnancy test falls out of Megan's bag at Bertie's birthday party. She plays it off as one she bought for a student, but it turns out is hers and she is pregnant. And later on, Leanne spots an appointment for a termination on Megan's phone, because they've been having breakfast with... And I really think this is so random, right? Megan was like in the cafe having breakfast with Leanne and Eva. Fine. That makes sense with Eva and Leanne, but why was Mary there? Was it meant to be Glenda? And someone just put Mary in instead. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Because I had to really think, who was there? So yeah, Leanne spots an appointment on her phone, and both Leanne and Eva later comfort her with Leanne following her to the appointment. It's nice, the comfort that Ava and Leanne gave her. We find out that Megan's got PCOS, and as a fellow PCOS girly, it would be nice if this wasn't just a plot point, that more information was given. Like, do more, do better. Don't just have it as this is why. I want more on this. And especially Megan's involved in sport. There's a lot, you could do a lot around that, actually. So Megan worries that if she has a termination, she might not fall pregnant again. Will she keep the baby? And if so, whose is it? Do you think it's Daniel's? Do you think it's Will's? And I just, Granny Maggie once again, stop covering for this kid. Please stop. You're making it worse. And when are we going to go back to Maggie's story? When are we getting back to that? Megan also tries to get Daniel to back down on Will's exclusion because she needs him to go to the athletics championship because she feels it would be good on her future at the school. Whilst I think about it, line of the week, very much like the EastEnders one. Line of the week, I didn't do a line for Emmerdale because nothing stood out. Do apologise. But yeah, line of the week definitely goes to Kirk, who on Wednesday we had, if Tracy throws darts as well as she throws shade, we're all in trouble. Actually, cut that. I'll say it properly. If Tracy throws darts as well as she throws shade, we're all in trouble. Genius. Love it. Okay. I know you don't want to talk about this one, but weirdly I had a dream about Billy last night. That was weird. We see Summer bring around a photo of Billy to Todd and Theo's, and Todd puts it up on the mantelpiece, a shelf. So Billy's picture is there, burning right into Theo's guilty soul. Love it. Love to see it. When Todd reads out a draft of the eulogy he's writing, Theo once again gaslights him into believing that Todd's the guilty one here and that he shouldn't be doing it, someone else should. We all know this isn't true. Will that photo stay up? Will it sit there? Will it burn into Theo's soul of guilt? We see Billy's body brought to Shuttleworth's just as Todd and Summer are walking by. How convenient. Summer admits to Asher that once Billy was ready, she sat and read to him. I like that. It's nice. She wants to go back later, but Todd tries to dissuade her and says, you need to take some time, which is fine. I get where Summer's coming from, that she just doesn't like the thought of him on his own. But yeah, he does have George. George will be looking after him. Instead, while she and Todd are discussing whether she should go back, she sees Debbie and she slaps Debbie because she blames her for the crash. Summer, it was not her. Look closer to home, please. Once again, for all Archers listeners out there, I don't think there's many of you, but Fallon, please come and get your husband. Thank you. Asher also reveals to Mary that she's going to go back to paramedic training and at least something good has come out of the Corridale crash. Right. Have I missed anything? I really hope not. I made good notes this week. I sorted things out. So yeah, another week in the soap done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everyone that listened last week. Tell a friend. Share the socials from on Facebook, Insta and TikTok. You can also email in outinthewash.pod@gmail.com and let me know what do you want to hear more of. What would you like to talk about? What are your thoughts on this week? Thank you. Thank you for listening.